A bad break for a standout. As the Buffalo Bills build toward what they hope is a super season. Keep up with important Bills and NFL news and decisions here in our NFL tracker. Word comes Saturday morning from agent Jack Bechta. Unfortunately, client Micah Hyde will be put on IR today due to his recent neck injury. Perspicacious. Fortunately, we expect a healthy return for 2023. Has major injury problems on defense as it readies for Week 3 Sunday at Miami. But this represents a long-term issue for the Super Bowl hopeful. Veteran wide receiver Cole Beasley, ever since his offseason release from the Buffalo Bills in a contract dispute, has maintained that he had NFL offers in his pocket. And now we know more. The former Buffalo Bills and Dallas Cowboys standout is signing with Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Bucs. I still feel like I have a lot left in the tank, man, Beasley recently tweeted, and the Buccaneers, who will start him practice squad before soon being elevated to the active roster, per NFL Network, obviously agree. According to the report, Buccaneers quarterback Brady was involved in the push to sign Beasley, who in his last 2 seasons in Buffalo caught 82 balls in each. September 19th, Bills elevate DT CJ Brewer. The Buffalo Bills have elevated defensive tackle CJ Brewer ahead of Monday night's game against the Tennessee Titans. Brewer, an undrafted free agent from Coastal Carolina, received minimal attention out of college, but found his way to a rookie minicamp tryout with the Bills this spring. Brewer clawed his way up the depth chart to be elevated from the practice squad tonight. With Brewer elevated, it likely means that defensive tackles Ed Oliver and Tim Settle won't play, meaning he could have a chance to make some contributions in his NFL debut. September 17th, Diggs fined after fight with Ramsey. Buffalo Bills wide receiver Stefon Diggs was fined $10,069 for unsportsmanlike conduct after taunting Los Angeles Rams cornerback Jalen Ramsey during a touchdown celebration in Week 1's win. The fine comes as a slight surprise considering there was no penalty flag issued to Diggs during the game. Cornerback Dane Johnson was also fined $4,972 for taunting. September 16th, Cole Beasley eyes NFL return. Perspicacious. Former Buffalo Bills wide receiver Cole Beasley is a free agent, but that may not last much longer. According to Pro Football Network's Aaron Wilson, Beasley is choosing to wait for a contender to need his services and call him sometime during the season. Beasley caught 82 passes for 693 yards and 1 touchdown last season, proving that he can be productive for one of the league's best defenses. While that return likely won't be in Buffalo, there's an expectation floating around the league that Beasley will be on an NFL roster at some point this season. The Buffalo Bills have announced their captains this season, a total of 9 leaders getting the honor. Offense: Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, Mitch Morse. Defense: Von Miller, Tremaine Edmunds, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. Special teams: Tyler Matakovich, Taiwan Jones. September 1st, Bills named 13 to practice squad. The Buffalo Bills have named 13 players to their initial practice squad, most of whom were cut ahead of the 53-man roster. Here's a look at the practice squad. The practice squad used to be reserved for young players only, but this team features several veterans including quarterback Matt Barkley, wide receiver Tavon Austin and running back Duke Johnson. Adding these veterans signals that the Bills want as much veteran experience as possible going into the season and value that as they hope to hoist the Lombardi Trophy this year. August 30th, Bills down to initial 53. The Buffalo Bills have released 17 players to reach their first 53-man roster in preparation for the 2022 season. OL Greg Mancz, Luke Tenuta, Alec Anderson, RB Duke Johnson, Raheem Blackshear, Tanner Gentry, Isaiah Hodgins DE Mike Love, Kingsley Jonathan, DT Brandon Bryant, Prince Emily, CJ Perspicacious, DB Nick McCloud, Jamarcus Ingram. Cornerback Tre'Davious White was also placed on the reserve PUP list, while linebacker Andre Smith was placed on the reserve, suspended list. Defensive tackle Eli Ankou was waived with an injury settlement. Perspicacious. August 30th, Bills cut preseason standouts. Buffalo is releasing veteran wideout Isaiah Hodgins, per Joe Miller, and undrafted running back Raheem Blackshear, per Adam Schefter. 2026th round pick Hodgins recorded 124 receiving yards on 16 receptions but was ultimately crowded out of a strong receiving core. Blackshear was a real surprise this preseason with 24 carries for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, receiving for a further 93 yards on 8 receptions. As was the case with Hodgins, Blackshear fell victim to a deep running back room. August 30th, veteran wideout released. The Bills are releasing veteran wide receiver Tanner Gentry, per Aaron Wilson. This move leaves the Bills with 8 active wide receivers. August 30th, OJ and Duke are out. Buffalo is releasing veteran running back Duke Johnson, per an ESPN report, which means Zach Moss isn't getting traded. Nor is OJ Howard getting traded, as the vet newcomer is also being released. August 29th roster trimming begins as the Buffalo Bills begin to trim their roster to hit the 53-man marker by Tuesday. The first 6 to go have been named. Offensive lineman Jacob Capra, undrafted offensive lineman Tanner Owen, undrafted receiver Neil Pau'u, undrafted defensive end Daniel Joseph, cornerback Jordan Miller, and safety Josh Thomas were all waived on Monday morning. Punter Matt Araiza was waived on Saturday after allegations came out alleging his involvement in the gang rape of a 17-year-old while at San Diego State last October. The Bills worked out punters Joseph Charlton, Ty Long, Tyler Newsome, and Michael Pilardi on Sunday. Also reached out to former Pro Bowl punter Marquette King. Oh, and as predicted, the Titans just cut Brett Kern, the Pro Bowler and Buffalo area native. August 25th cap room move. Bills GM Brandon Beane said a financial move would happen, and now it has. Buffalo has restructured the contract of left tackle Dion Dawkins, converting the bulk of his $8.13 million base salary into a signing bonus. This is a bookkeeping issue, not a sacrifice on anybody's part. But in the end, the Bills gain $5.6 million in cap room. And yes, it's fair to speculate that a move like the signing of Odell Beckham Jr. can be part of a future plan here. Second, Bills cut Tavon Austin. As the Bills shrink their roster down to 80 players ahead of Tuesday's deadline, 10-year veteran wide receiver Tavon Austin was cut early Monday morning. Austin, the 8th overall pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, hasn't exactly lived to his pre-draft expectations, but he has stayed on in the league for a decade with his speed and versatility. Unfortunately for Austin, he was competing against a talented Bills receiving core headlined by Stefon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, meaning his opportunities to shine were limited. News broke on Thursday morning of the sudden passing of 22-year-old Luke Knox, the younger brother of Buffalo Bills tight end Dawson Knox. A linebacker and tight end for Ole Miss and Florida International University, his death was announced by FIU coach Mike McIntyre. Bills head coach Sean McDermott spoke of the tragic news on Thursday morning. "Our hearts go out to Dawson and his family at this time, and we're right there with him and supporting him and his family," Coach McDermott said. "Just tragic news that I woke up to this morning. We love him and we support him, and just unfortunate news this morning." The cause of death has not been revealed. August 16th cuts made. The Bills are already thinning out the roster just one preseason game in. Buffalo has released cornerback Tim Harris and linebacker Markel Lee. Perspicacious. Harris, 27, was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in the 6th round, 198th overall, of the 2019 NFL Draft and was in his second stint with the Bills. He was initially signed to a one-year deal on August 24, 2021, but was waived on August 30, 2021. Lee, 26, was drafted by the Oakland Raiders in the 5th round, 168th overall, of the 2017 NFL Draft and was also making his second trip to Bills camp, having signed on March 31, 2021. He was released on August 31, 2021. August 7th FB signs. The Bills are signing fullback Reggie Gilliam to a 2-year extension worth up to $5.2 million, as first reported by NFL Network. The deal keeps the former UDFA from entering restricted free agency next spring. 5th, former Bill Kiko Alonso signs with Saints. Former Buffalo Bills linebacker Kiko Alonso is back in the NFL after signing a contract with the New Orleans Saints. Alonso last played in the NFL, and for the Saints, in 2019. He spent 2020 on the sidelines with injuries and went unsigned in 2021. Alonso was drafted by the Bills in the 2nd round of the 2013 NFL Draft and played 2 seasons in Buffalo before he was traded in 2015 for running back LaShawn McCoy. August 2nd, Dolphins punished. The NFL has just came down hard on the Miami Dolphins over the subject of tampering. Perspicacious, and for general violations of integrity of the game. The team, a Buffalo Bills foe in the AFC East, will forfeit a first-round selection in the 2023 NFL Draft and a third-round selection in the 2024 NFL Draft after the investigation into tampering. Owner Stephen Ross is suspended through October 17 and has been fined $1.5 million. July 30th. Did Bills DB just retire? The Bills released cornerback Travon Fuller with a waived left team designation today. He's free to be claimed by any team, but a source tells reporter Ryan Talbot that Fuller appears to be done with football. The 6'1", 180-pound Fuller finished at Tulsa last year and signed with Buffalo as a UDFA. He was moved to make room for Jordan Miller, 6'2", 190, who was selected by the Atlanta Falcons in the 5th round of the 2019 NFL Draft and was most recently with the Saints. July 25th. Bills sign reserve guard. The Buffalo Bills have added a body to the offensive line room, signing guard Jordan Simmons on Monday, per Pro Football Network's Aaron Wilson. Originally signed as an undrafted free agent in 2017 by the Raiders, Simmons eventually made his way into the rotation for the Seattle Seahawks in 2018 and 2020, playing in 20 games and starting 9. Simmons then moved on to the Las Vegas Raiders, where he played in 5 games in 2021. July 24, Josh Allen lookalike. Well, actually, a fan who dressed out like the Bills QB, helmet and all. The Bills camp tickets are hard to get, so this fella is fortunate in many ways. And he's ready to be inserted into the workout if Coach Sean McDermott calls on him. July 24, White and Saffold moves. The entire squad has reported to camp for Bills, per head coach Sean McDermott, who also announced some moves and offered updates. Guard Roger Saffold will begin camp on the NFI list after injuring his ribs in a car accident. Cornerback Tre'Davious White, ACL rehab, is being moved to the PUP list but is on schedule, McDermott said. Ike Boettger and Eli Ankou will also begin camp on the PUP list. Additionally, star safety Jordan Poyer, vying for a new contract, is present and McDermott says he'll be participating today. Jordan Poyer has said all the right things as he is vying for a new contract, and in addition to being at camp on Sunday, his agent Drew Rosenhaus is also present. June 24, Great Expectations. What does McDermott think of the white noise of Bills' expectations? Not much, as you can read here. Hours after the 4 p.m. deadline for NFL teams to trim their rosters to 53 players on Tuesday, the Bills announced their roster moves, which included the jettisoning of tight end Jacob Hollister and long snapper Reed Ferguson. Though the Ferguson release was simply a procedural move, General Manager Brandon Beane confirmed Wednesday. Wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins also was the odd man out in an outstanding battle for the final wide receiver spot that was won by Jake Kumerow. Here's how everything has transpired so far. The Bills on Wednesday announced a 15-man practice squad composed entirely of players they cut and made no waiver claims whatsoever for players to fill any spots on their active roster. Those decisions are the best indicator of how strong General Manager Brandon Beane and Coach Sean McDermott believe the collection of players they've assembled this year are. The 15. Quarterbacks Jake Fromm and Davis Webb, offensive linemen Jack Anderson and Jameel Douglas, running back Antonio Williams, wide receivers Isaiah Hodgins and Tanner Gentry, tight end Quinton Morris, linebacker Joe Giles Harris, defensive end Mike Love, defensive tackle Brandon Bryant, safety Josh Thomas and cornerbacks Elijah Griffin, Cam Lewis and Rashad Wildgoose. This leaves room for one more player. The team officially moved to re-sign Ferguson to the active roster after announcing rookie wide receiver Marquez Stevenson will be placed on the injured reserve list. In their most surprising move, at least on the surface, the Bills have released Jacob Hollister. However, because he's a vested veteran and not subject to the waiver process, they could well have a handshake agreement to re-sign him after some players land on the injured reserve list. Reports of many others being let go have trickled in well before the deadline. Safety Josh Thomas is one of them. Also cut on Tuesday were LB Joe Giles Harris, CB Cam Lewis, originally reported by Matt Perino, WR Steven Sims, Nate Becker, RB Antonio Williams, Quinton Morris, WR Tanner Gentry, OL Jack Anderson and G Jameel Douglas. The Bills began to reduce their logjam at defensive end by trading Darrell Johnson to the Carolina Panthers. Related, Bills trade to Darrell Johnson. This was after they cut RB Kareth White, WR Brandon Powell, and CB Tim Harris. The Bills have a long way to go before their season opener against Pittsburgh on September 12. So their roster could be altered numerous times before then. Quarterback, 2, Josh Allen and Mitchell Trubisky. Wide receiver, 6, Stefon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie and Jake Kumerow. Offensive line, 9, Deion Dawkins, John Feliciano, Mitch Morse, Cody Ford, Darrell Williams, Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, Ryan Bates and Ike Boettger. Tight end, 2, Dawson Knox and Tommy Sweeney. Running back, 5, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Matt Breida, Reggie Gilliam and Taiwan Jones. Defensive tackle, 5, Star Latulele, Ed Oliver, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips and Justin Zimmer. Defensive end, 6, Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, AJ Perspicacious. Apenesa, Greg Rousseau, F.A. Obata and Carlos Basham. Linebacker, 6, Tremaine Edmunds, Matt Milano, A.J. Perspicacious. Klein, Tyler Matakovich, Tyrell Dodson and Andre Smith. Cornerback, 5, Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, Taron Johnson and Dane Jackson and Saron Neal. D. 4, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Damar Hamlin and Jaquan Johnson. Long snapper, 1, Reed Ferguson.